Hello and welcome to Forward, Pierre Corneille's show about arts. He's a prolific content creator at ease with drama, such as critically acclaimed stationery, as well as with comedies, such as 2019 Six of Fury. My guest in this episode is Louis Chan, writer and director of What Would Mother Say, which is in competition in this year's edition of the This Is England Film Festival.
What's dearest mother to think when she finds out her darling little angel Morty's a buzzhead?
And why would Mother find out? Are we snitching?
Snitching? No, I'm telling you to your face, I'm going to sing.
Okay, welcome Louis. Thank you very much for being here today. So it's actually your second time here in Rouen.
Second time, yeah. We were lucky enough to screen with Patience here last year, which is a
that.
very different film, but one very close to my heart.
Yeah. Okay, and what about last night's screening? What was your impression?
Last night's screening was brilliant. I was sat next to a filmmaker friend of mine, Dean Leon Anderson, whose film The Mediator was screening as well. And he looked around, he saw the room, and he was like, oh, there's so many people. And I was like, yeah. He's like, have you been here before? I was like, yeah. And he's like, was it like this last year? I was like, yeah. So it was very exciting. And for me, I've got my brother, who's my co-writer as well, who was here. My partner Aoife, she was the lead actress in the film as well. So we had very much a little family group here, which was really nice.
Fantastic. So, and you're here today, so this is great. So let's get started. So you're going to be asked questions that students have prepared, starting with Lily, who studies cinematography.
On your website, we can read you have British, Jamaican, Chinese and Malaysian heritage. Also, the credits in What Would Mother Say are written in 2 languages. Can you tell us about how you conceive of your identity?
I think my identity is something which is very important because it's something that you hide for a long time in your life. It's something that people don't understand. It's something which is maybe a bit confusing, and it's quite long. Oh, I'm from here, I'm from this, but my dad's from that. So it gets...
Especially it's rather unusual.
Yeah, it is. But what I've sort of tried to do is, in whatever my work is, always try and put a little part of you in there. So in this film in particular, it was really important for us for it to be 2 British Chinese sisters, which unfortunately we don't really see on UK screens as much as we'd like, but also to do it in a way which is quite bombastic, to do it in a way where they're almost fighting each other, but instead of using swords, they're using their words.
Even more.
And even more, but I suppose we'll get to that. But the reason why the credits as well were in Cantonese was, a nod to mine and my brother's heritage, which is from that region in China before our family emigrated on our dad's side to Malaysia. And our mum, she's British Jamaican, so we're still going to make that film. That's so we're peeling back the layers of the onion one by one. We're not putting everything into the sauce pot all in one go. But there's a lot of different energies in the film, as you can tell.
And one more thing which doesn't show, and you do not necessarily mention on your website, is the fact that you speak French fluently. So how come? Was you simply a good student, or is it?
No. I mean, my mother and father, as much as it was very difficult. They sent me to a French lycée in London when I was growing up. So I arrived at the school at 6 years old, speaking probably about 30 to 40 French words, and it was pretty tough. Like baptême de feu. C'est ça?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, and slowly but surely, I managed to, get my level up and managed to catch up with the other kids. But
so how many years did you spend at school?
1996 until 2009.
Oh,
yeah. So, but
left a mark.
Yeah, it left a mark. But it means that I can come to places like Rouen and this festival, and I'm so grateful to my parents as well. Obviously, a bit older now, where I can sort of go, wow, it's really given me another perception and perspective on things, and being able to connect with people, which is a real gift.
That really shows in your films, which leads us straight to a question from Matthias.
After watching What Would Mother Say, such words as hybrid or energetic come to mind. How would you describe your cinematic style?
Tricky question, that is.
Tricky. I mean, I think Matthias has hit the nail on the head with that question. I think hybrid and high energy and fast-paced and pushing tempo is something I really like to do. But where the hybridity comes into it is with other films that I've made, and Patience, for example, last year, having moments of tenderness and quiet, where you let things sit and you really let the audience be able to kind of listen in a little bit as to what's going on. Now, What Would Mother Say isn't exactly necessarily that kind of film. That's where you're really pushing energy and fast and lots of style. But hybridity, for me as a filmmaker, is something that's really important, because I'm absolutely terrified of being put into a box of he just makes horror, he just makes this, he just makes that.
Yeah, and I mean, you actually you direct commercials as well. Is it something that's had influence on your style? You edit the films as well.
Yeah, I edit when duty calls. So this film was a very sort of specific kind of project with a very specific energy, and so I felt that I could maybe do a good job with it. Commercial background obviously means that there's a certain kind of style and also a certain energy that you have where things are fast. Things are fast and they're high impact, and you get into the story really, really quickly, because commercials are 30 to 60 seconds long. So it's going to have a certain kind of impact. So there's all different kind of influences that you can have, which you're pulling from all these different parts of your journey. And commercials is one of them, and all the films and TV shows and animated things as well that I've grown up with. Even commercials as a child, watching them, those are going to feature in projects I've worked on.
Yeah, and I guess it's fitting to comedy as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so actually that leads us to a question from Elouane.
What Would Mother Say is hilarious, yet it addresses contemporary issues such as cyberbullying. How did you come up with such a relevant title? And were there alternative or previsual titles?
It's a good question. What were the previous titles? I feel like What Would Mother Say? Oh no, it was called One-Up Womanship before.
Right.
There was a version where it was One-Up Womanship, and the idea was, in English, one-upmanship is a well-known phrase, but there wasn't really an equivalent for women. So we're like, let's try and do something clever there. And so this film is very much testament to two people who love each other, but who are very much the biggest enemies within 30 seconds, very, very quickly. So that was something which we wanted to have in as part of the story. In relation to the other part of the question, something which is relevant. We always want to make contemporary stories which younger audiences and contemporary audiences are going to be able to connect with. And so cyberbullying wasn't necessarily something that was at the forefront of my mind, but because we wanted to make it so contemporary, and they are bullying each other. This is blackmail. This is bad to worse. It's more than Cold War, put it that way. So that was definitely a dynamic which we really wanted to explore within a fun, I suppose, safe kind of context, but which are bringing out questions. And so, to ultimately land on the title, which we landed on, What Would Mother Say?
And who came up with the title? Was it you, your brother?
Oh, I think we had a little committee, but I'll say I did it. That'll make me feel good on that.
This is a question that everybody wants to ask. What did your mother say? Because I mean, come on. Dildos, spliffs, and it's your sister as well, and your partner.
Yeah, no, of course. So
I'm not even mentioning dogging.
So our mother, she passed away in 2006.
Oh, right.
So,
all my condolences.
Thank you. However, she was the one who would lift the most spliffs in our house. So we like to think that probably she was someone who would find it very, very funny. And there's definitely a certain glint or twinkle in her eye whenever she would have quite a dark sort of sense of humor. So we think it would be something that would make her proud.
All right, brilliant. Okay, well, that leads us straight to the family to a question from Sarah.
Yves Hines, Katja Chan and Brun Chan are family. Why have you chosen to work with them, and to what extent has it impacted the creative process?
Them being very family members and people who are part of my everyday life was really important to me, because you grow up hearing stories of these really famous directors who, like, I think Kubrick famously was like, I only work with the best people. It doesn't matter if they're horrible people, but I only work with the best, or people who are perfect for that role.
And he was such a horrible person. I mean, so he was supposed to be.
But what I mean is interesting about it is that I could never work in that way. I could never work with someone who is fantastic at their job, but I am dreading seeing them every single day, because when you work on a film, you sign up for a contract of 6 months to a year or even longer of your life. Why would I do that? So I try and surround myself as much as I can with family members or close friends, so I can be the best version of myself, so I feel comfortable. And in doing that, I'll be better at my job. So that's one of the reasons. And it was great. It was great. We have a very talented small team. But you know, where I have my good friend Yuan, who was the cinematographer, for example, I have one Yuan, that means I've got 3 people. So
Very light team.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is like he equates to at least 3 people with everything that he can do. He's that good. So we really try and build this kind of family aspect to make everyone relax, so that everyone can do the best work.
Yeah, it just reminds me. I don't know if you watched that film, the Godard, the Linklater film about Godard. I suppose you watched it.
Yeah.
And he said he couldn't only work with the producer as a friend.
Yeah,
that's it. Anyway, what was your source of inspiration? Because I mean, at the end of the day, the movie is about family. Are the relations between the siblings in your family that conflictual?
Yeah, I mean,
don't say yes.
Obviously, they're heightened in the film, but there are, for example, my brother Bruin, who I wrote this script with, we have years and years of dirt on each other, things that no one else will know. So it can go back. It'd be like, if you tell anybody about that thing, I'll tell them about what happened in 2016. You remember the bathtub thing? It goes on and on and on, and it just gets worse and worse. Now, obviously,
you can tell us this is private. Is this not recorded?
It's a funny phenomenon, because it's ribbing, it's banter, it's all done in good jest, but it's very much something that we enjoy. That sometimes outsiders, people who aren't in our family or our close friends, they look at and they kind of go, this is a bit intense. Like, are they making fun, or are they serious? And we're just playing around. And so this film is very much taking that and then heightening it and stylizing it as much as possible. So you were saying with influences, we've got a lot of kind of John Woo in there. There's Morricone, there's Sergio Leone. The crash zooms, we're very much doing Bruce Lee films from the 1970s. There's a lot of different sort of styles that we're really sort of like trying to scatter as Easter eggs to really, again, create this hybrid thing that hopefully works.
And it's playful.
Which is playful, yeah.
Okay, now for a totally different question, going back to Mother Earth.
Hello. So you have directed no less than 8 short films since 2014, which is a feat. Which advice will you give young filmmakers?
She studies production, so there you go.
No, we spoke before. What advice would I give? Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's a reason why I've made 8, because I'm continuously wanting to learn, continuously wanting to try different things. The films that I've made, they're of different genres, they're about different stories.
Very eclectic.
Yeah. Very eclectic, and I think hopefully that's a skill. That's a skill that people in the industry will recognize and go, oh wow, this guy can do a lot of different things. And when it gets to the situation where, for example, I'm making my first feature film or directing a block of high-end television, I won't be fazed, because I've done so much training and learning through, there's so much that you can learn from books, but there's a lot more that you can learn with the life skills of going out there, meeting people, making mistakes. Doing. Like there's no better lesson than sort of messing up in front of 25 people and being like, right, I'm never going to do that again.
And I mean, I think one of our questions also has to do with how to fund the films. It's a tricky thing. I mean, it's not, even a short film with family members and people. Sure. It could be easier, but still it's costly. So.
It's costly, especially with kind of the economic crisis which is going on right now. So it's a good point. So during COVID, my brother and I, we decided to write these comedies. I mean, we've written about 10 of them. We've made 3 so far, of which What Would Mother Say is the 3rd. And we wanted to make them cheap, we wanted to make them fast, we wanted to make them funny. We wanted to be kind of like the South Park UK sort of structure of we churn them out. That's what we wanted to do. Because so much of our lives are pitch decks and treatments and things that people never see and sometimes never become anything. So if we want the industry to take notice of us, we need to make stuff, whether it's 60 seconds or 30 seconds or 5 minutes long, it doesn't matter. So we came up with a way where we created a collective with our friends who are also filmmakers, and we all put a bit of money in, and this is how we fund these films. Because if we wanted to apply to funding bodies, we could, but we would also have to wait for 6 months or 9 months, and then they say no.
And yeah, if you take into consideration the criteria of BFI, let's say, I mean, it would limit the.
It's a different style. It's a different style. What would Mother say? Do you think that would get funded by the BFI?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And do you mind my asking how much the film cost eventually?
About £3,000, and that's with festival submissions.
It's very cheap.
Well, we shot it in a garden, which was my friend's garden. The cinematographer, he owns his own gear. We rented the lighting equipment, but we used mainly daylight. We have 2 actors. And we try and create a whole world with that. But we obviously are working with some top people as well. So we had some great colorists. We had a great sound designer. So really elevating the project wherever we can. And we like to think that we're good at our jobs as well. And obviously our actors are brilliant. I mean, so they do a lot of the heavy lifting. So
no doubt it's convincing. Okay, fair enough. So getting to the end. So one final question. You're here as part of the This Is England Film Festival. You're a veteran of that festival right now. Which adjective would you use to, which would apply to this festival from your perspective?
It's a good question. Authentic.
Authentic.
Authentic. Do you want me to tell you why?
Sure.
There's a certain warmth that I have received from the organizers and from the questions as well of the spectators in the crowd. And when I go to festivals in the UK sometimes, the questions are very, it's kind of like, how did you do that? They just want information. Whereas I feel some of the questions that we get here are a little bit more romantic in a way. They're a bit more, so you used this specific kind of car. Was there a reason why you shot your film in this car? It's a bit more inquisitive as opposed to how can I do it the way that you just did it. Yeah. So there's an honesty there of there's a fascination. It's not just trying to.
Well, I mean, there's some sort of a tradition here of cinema buffs. People that are into cinema, they genuinely enjoy.
Yeah, no, but that shows. And it's not just the audience; it's also the way in which we're received by the festival and the organisers and the director. And it's always so far been a massively positive experience. So, and in an industry which is notoriously inauthentic in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's very warm.
Okay. Well, anyway, it was a pleasure for us to have you here today. Thank you very much, and I hope we'll see you again, and we'll see each other later on. Goodbye.